Hello friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside. I am Jenny and today I am going to tackle the cottage garden behind me. It is, she's a hot mess, but I thought this would be a fantastic opportunity to come and talk to you about 5 things that you can be doing in your garden right now. Yes, it is the end of December, but weather permitting, get out there and do some gardening. We can garden year round. Especially us folks in the South that stay nice and warm. We're actually experiencing a heat wave right now. I mean, it was like toasty. And there you see our sweet girl. She is going to be joining me for part of the time. This is her first gardening video, so she will be in and out. If you hear commotion and things going on, Jackson has been building a tree house behind me, and so he is working on that. So Brenna is between the two of us. Again, 5 things that you can be doing in your garden right now. Even though it is winter time, there is still a lot of things to be done. Like I said, again, as long as weather permits, get out there and do it. Now, flip the camera around. Let me just give you an idea of this space so you can see what it's going to look like, the big difference between the before and the after. So let's flip it around. This space right here is what I call my cottage garden because it is a mix of perennials, annuals, all sorts of things. Behind it you can see the garden boxes and the different areas that we have been in. Now, I have done just a little bit of work as we have progressed from end of summer, fall, and now into winter. But clearly this has not been put to bed for the winter and I need to get this cleaned up and neat and tidy. Step 1, something that you can be doing in your garden right now is removing any leftover annuals. So I've got just maybe, I think 2 in here, a very small amount. These lovely brown sticks right here that you see, that is vermillionaire that is left over. So step 1, what you can do is get rid of all the annuals out of your flower beds. What do you think? Huh? Now, when you are taking out your annuals, like this vermillionaire, that clearly was very, very happy right here, you want to get out as much of your soil as you possibly can. You don't want to throw away your good soil. You want to keep that. Plus, there's some beautiful earthworms in here, so we definitely don't want to get those out of our garden. Hey, hi. Hi. Yeah. Okay, step 1 is complete. The annuals have been removed from the flower bed. Again, there were not very many in here because as they had finished out for the season, I had taken them out as we went along. So it's just the vermillionaire that was left in here. So step number 2 that you can be doing, task number 2 that you can be doing in your garden right now is trimming back your perennials because that is a big thing. The vast majority of perennials love to be trimmed back. Their foliage is already been zapped by the freeze, so we need to trim those back. So let me show you some examples of what I'm going to be doing here in the cottage garden. All right, so what we're gonna do, this is an Amsonia. It's a gorgeous perennial, love it. Freeze has completely killed it. So we're gonna cut it all the way back to the ground. Really simple. Take your good clippers and just go down as low as you can to the ground. And we're gonna get these stalks out of here. Okay, so you can see I got the Amsonia cut back, and basically I cut it back as short to the ground as, you know, was easy as possible. It's always fun to have a puppy with you because she likes to dig and so forth and so on. Glad we got her in the winter and not in the spring when I'm trying to plant things as opposed to clean up. Now, another thing that you can be doing while you're cleaning up your perennials is go ahead and get your winter weeds out. So as I'm moving along, I see that I have weeds in here, right? And just like we have summer weeds, we have winter weeds. Winter weeds, that is a mouthful. So we want to go ahead and get those out because just like summer weeds, winter weeds, you know, are not good. So we're going to get those out of there. This is a good job for Brenna. She can chase those. So yeah, so we're gonna keep moving through the bed. Like my daylilies, that is what this clump of brown foliage is right here. Those are very simple to do because all that foliage is dead and it will simply just pull up. So for example, right, it just pulls out of the ground. Brenda loves that. Distractions are a good thing. So we're just gonna get all this pulled out. We're gonna move on down the line. Now, there are some things that we do not want to do in our garden right now. We will have a video on that coming later on this week. One of those things is certain perennials do not get pruned back. My Nothothea right here is a perfect example. So be looking for that video later on this week. 5 things not to be doing in your garden right now. So Brenna and I are going to continue having lots of fun pulling out weeds and daylily foliage. We're going to move on down the line and finish pruning up all of these perennials. Okay, so you know here at Creekside, I'm all about doing some experimenting, see what works, what doesn't work, because you never know until you really try. Behind me, you will see this lovely mass of brown sticks. That is my Miss Huff lantana, which is an absolutely glorious perennial lantana for us. It's huge, covered in blooms, the butterflies, everybody loves this plant. The downside to it is that during the winter time, it looks like this. This is this mass of brown sticks. Now, I have always read, heard, told you that in order for your lantana to be a perennial, that you should not trim it until the springtime when you start to see new growth appear. Last year in our Proven Winners trial garden for the annuals, we had the red zone lantana, and I went ahead and just trimmed it back to the ground when we had our first freeze, thinking that it would kill it, and instead of I was being lazy, honestly, instead of just ripping it out of the ground, so I just cut it back to the ground. Well, wouldn't you know, lo and behold, it came back. I'm gonna do an experiment and I'm going to trim Miss Huff down to the ground. I am fully prepared to lose her. Jerry and I keep going back and forth whether or not to leave Miss Huff here because she is so massive that she really has outgrown this bed. And if I try to move her, more than likely I will lose her because lantana has a massive root system. It's very shallow, but it is really extensive. So to try to move her, I would probably lose her. So I'm just gonna cut her back, make the bed look neat and tidy, and if she comes back, great, we'll deal with it next year. Whether to leave her, I don't, it's just one of those things we're kind of like back and forth. Do you have those in your garden? I do. Again, we're gonna cut her to the ground. What I am gonna do though is when I'm gonna use my loppers because down at the base it's pretty thick. I am gonna try to cut it at an angle instead of going straight across. Lantana has hollow stalks. That's why they say don't prune it now because water could get down into it. So we're gonna cut it at an angle and we're gonna see what happens. Now, when you are pruning some of your perennials, you will notice that they will have green foliage still on them, and that is perfectly fine. That's just what some of them do. So for example, this is the Proven Winners Luminary Ultraviolet Phlox. It will keep some of its green foliage for us year round, even in the winter. So you can see right here, what I did was simply trim those stalks all the way to the back. Brenna's having a good time. But yeah, so you will notice that on both the phlox and my Shasta daisies are the same way. Other perennials, like I said, that keep green foliage year round for us here in our Zone 7B. These are Shasta daisies, so you can see that they have a nice green mound on them. So those will stay green. The salvias will keep some green foliage on them, so all you do is just come in there and take the stems off of them. And then the guara will stay green as well, along with the penstemon here. I believe that's penstemon. Yeah, so we're just going to cut those stalks off and leave the green foliage. So I'm going to lickety-split, get this bed cleaned up. All right, friends, so I have step 2 completed. All of the perennials have been cut back, trimmed back, neat and tidy. Any kind of dead foliage has been removed. Now, step 3, I got a little bit ahead of myself. You could do, step 3 is obviously go ahead and remove your weeds, right? So you don't want those weeds in there. Depends on when you do it. Like for me, it's easier to remove the weeds when I am in that spot and going ahead and trimming back those perennials. So I've removed the weeds, but also in step 3 is to go ahead and remove any of the large leaves that you have in the flower bed. Let me explain why. We talked about it when we were working up there on Hydrangea Hill about the reason that we remove these large leaves. Now what I'm talking about are these nice big leaves, right? So these are mostly are oak leaves, maybe some poplar leaves in there. Those we want to get out because, like right here at the Gnathophia, see that? See how they're piling up around that Gnathophia? These large leaves will not decompose over the winter. It just takes them too long. We want to go ahead and get them out of here so that way they don't harbor any pest in here. Now, if you love leaf litter, that is fantastic. So if you love using leaf mulch, leaf litter in your garden, that's great. All you do at this point is get these big leaves out, mulch them up, chop them down, get them smaller, then put them back in your flower beds. I love leaf mulch. It's fantastic, but I can't leave them this big in my flower bed. They will not decompose. You've got to get them smaller. So it's not that I'm anti-leaf mulch. I'm not. It's fantastic. You just have to change their form. So what I'm going to do is, because in this bed it's more of a neat and tidy bed, we're going to get them out. I'm not going to use them. At this point, we have got tons of trees mulch around here, like leaf mulch. So if you've ever seen any of our drone shots, you know that we have got tons of hardwood trees. Again, not anti-leaf mulch. It's just not in this bed that I'm going to use it for. So the easiest way to get the leaves and then any other debris out of here is I'm just going to get the blower and blow it out. Obviously, if you have a rake, just go ahead and get the rake and get it out of here. So that is step number 3. Get any weeds out and get the big leaves out. Okay friends, so step number 3 has been completed. All weeds and leaves have been removed. You will notice that I did do that using a rake because Jerry is on a landscape job today and he has the blower. So we went a little old school and did it with a rake. Worked beautifully. Step number 4, the 4th thing that you can be doing in your garden right now, planting spring flowering bulbs. As long as you can work your soil, you can go ahead and plant some bulbs in the ground right now. That is what we're going to do. I have both some crocuses and some snowdrops that we are going to plant in here. Now, depending on what your bulb is, what kind of plant it is, will vary on how deep you plant it. Crocuses go about 5 inches down. Snowdrops go about 4 inches down. So I'm going to use my power planter auger. I'm going to zip some holes in here and I'm going to plant them. It'll be really sporadic, just pockets here and there, kind of where I know perennials are and where maybe I'm not going to put an annual right away. Because these are spring flowering bulbs, early bloomers, I don't have to worry too much and think too much about like my mature size of my perennial, because by the time that perennial is nice and full and big, then that bulb will have already bloomed and the foliage has died back. So I can plant them a little bit closer to some perennials maybe than what we think. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get these guys in the ground. Easy thing, and such a rewarding thing to do, because come spring you will be so happy that you planted these bulbs. Okay, so we got step number 4 done in planting our spring flowering bulbs. 2 things you will notice. 1, it is a different day. Brenna had to have her first obedience class yesterday, so the project didn't get finished yesterday, so we are going to wrap it up this morning. Second thing, I did not plant the crocus. I decided kind of at the last minute only to put the snowdrops in here. I will put the crocuses in a different location. All right, so that was step number 4 that you can be doing. The 5th thing that you can be doing in your garden right now is composting your flower beds and then adding a layer of mulch. That is what we are going to do now. You can see behind me that we have put out some bags of land and sea. This bed, because it has multiple years of decomposed mulch on it, it is really starting to get some nice texture and amendments in it, because that mulch has decomposed and is doing great. I've got great earthworms. So I don't need to put a lot of land and sea in here. I'm just gonna do a nice little top dress. The 2 beds, this side is a little bit bigger than the other side. We're just gonna do 5 bags for each side. Again, just a nice little top dress, and then we're gonna go get our mulch that we use, which is a double hammered hardwood mulch, and we're gonna lay it down. We're gonna lay it down nice and thick. That way, come springtime, summertime, we don't have to reapply it. We can just do it again this time next year. It will cover up all the irrigation lines. We will, knowing where the perennials are, we will put the mulch kind of around that, not directly on top. Where we planted the bulbs, mulch can go right on top of it and it will be great. I love the fresh look of mulch in the flower bed. It just looks like the final piece that you need to make the outfit look complete. So that is what we're gonna do. Okay guys, so the beds have been composted, they have been mulched, so all 5 things that we could be doing in our garden have been completed in the cottage garden, and let me tell you, it makes a world of difference. So as long as the weather permits and you don't have snow on the ground and it's not icy or pouring down rain, you can get out there and work in your garden. Don't let a little cool weather or hot weather, in the case of North Carolina in December, slow you down. Get out there, just go for it, get out there and have fun in your garden. Stay tuned because I will do a little screen that you can take a screenshot of that will help you remember those 5 things that you can be doing in your garden in the winter. As always, thanks so much for gardening with Creekside. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you in the next video. Bye friends.